Have you ever felt excited to explore a dark place, only to then be hit with fear? Imagine standing at the entrance of a cave knowing that it holds secrets and dangers. What drives someone to dive into Pollonora Cave, where stories of lost souls linger? Or to swim in Madison Blue Springs, where a fun adventure can quickly turn tragic? Join us as we dive into these two intense stories. But before we begin, as a reminder, viewer discretion is advised. In the dark depths of Pollonora Cave, where old myths mix with hidden dangers, one man's strong desire to explore the unknown pushes him to his limits. As Arthur Kaslovski goes deeper into the shadows, the excitement of discovery turns into fear. What happened to Arthur in the depths of the cave? Did he make it out alive? Or did the cave claim him as another victim of its secrets? Pollonora Cave, located in Kiltarden in County Galway in Ireland, is a place that sparks both fascination and fear. Its mysterious reputation has been woven from the hidden dangers that lie within, captivating the imaginations of adventurers and explorers alike. The locals, who have lived alongside this cave for generations, have grown to fear its unknown depths and the potential for sinkholes in the surrounding area. This fear has led to a strict prohibition on approaching the cave, with many believing that the ground could give way beneath their feet at any moment. Well, despite these risks, the allure of Pollonora Cave has drawn in individuals like Arthur Kaslovski, who was determined to be the first to map the extensive underground network. Arthur Kaslovski was a passionate cave diver originally from Poland who moved to Ireland to study unexplored cave systems. He became fascinated with diving after a friend introduced him to a water-filled cave, igniting a deep love for exploration. Initially inexperienced, he quickly advanced his skills under the guidance of legendary cave diving instructor Martin Farr. By the time of this tragic accident in 2011, Arthur was in his early 30s and had made significant contributions to cave mapping, setting records for deep dives and discovering new passages, all driven by his insatiable curiosity and adventurous spirit. After working with a diver named Martin for just a year, he inspired Arthur to explore more in cave diving. Martin, again as said, was a well-known explorer famous for his record-breaking dives and finding many hidden underground passages. Arthur achieved an amazing goal by completing the deepest underwater cave dive ever in Ireland or Britain, reaching 103 meters, or 300 feet, in the Palmary Resurgence. This success shifted his attention to the mostly unexplored underwater caves under the Gore lowlands in Ireland. Arthur Kaslovski's fascination with the Pollonora Cave began the moment he heard about its mysterious depths. Despite the numerous risks involved, he became determined to be the first to map out the cave's extensive underground network. On his first visit to the cave, the locals also warned him about the dangers that lay within. They spoke of the treacherous underwater passages, the pockets of poisonous gas, and the ever-present risk of collapse. However, their warnings only seemed to fuel Arthur's determination. Arthur kept visiting the cave and became very interested in it. He asked his friends Jim, Frank, and Dave to join him. They were all experienced cave divers from different countries. Together, they explored the cave, and they were amazed by how big and different it was. The more they explored, the more they wanted to learn about it. Arthur made a map of a section of Pollonora, but it was always changing. Every time he and his friends dove into the cave, they discovered new areas, and so he updated the map to show these changes. They managed to explore 810 meters into the cave, which they called the known limits. However, experts believe that the cave goes much deeper than where they had reached. The entrance to the cave is about 52 meters below the surface of the ground, and this part is filled with water. To dive into this area, Arthur and his friends needed special diving gear. Arthur was hired by Galway County Council to help figure out if the large caves could hold the weight of a road over them. Although his consulting job didn't pay very well, he used the money he earned, along with what he made from writing articles for newspapers, to buy better diving equipment. He knew that having the right gear was important, so he bought advanced equipment, like a rebreather. This special device helps him breathe longer, which was important for exploring Pollonora Cave, as it was also known as the Quiet Cave. Arthur made great progress in mapping the Pollonora Cave system, with only 3 caves left to finish. He aimed to connect the Podoline and Pollonora caves, while also facing the most dangerous part, Pollonora 10. This mission was tough and scary because cave diving can be risky and unpredictable. However, cave divers like Arthur map these caves to reveal the hidden beauty underground and to make it safer for future explorers. By mapping these caves, they help others understand the area better and navigate it more safely. He decided to do this dive alone, and if he became successful, he would eventually prove the connection between the passages. But little did he know that this dive would change everything. Before he went diving, he created a detailed plan for the dive, thinking about the tricky underwater pass that he had already explored with his friends. The cave didn't have a proper or complete map available, especially for the middle part. So he set up guide ropes to help him find his way, and he marked safe exit points to ensure that he could return safely. As Arthur went deeper into the cave, he felt a strong current at the surface. It seemed less powerful as he swam down, but he knew that things could be tricky. So he carefully descended to about 21 meters and paused, feeling unsure about what to do next. The darkness around him felt heavy, and the cave felt different than before. Even though he was nervous, Arthur still managed to maintain a level of calm. He relied on his training and experience to help him through this unknown place. He had already passed the hardest part of the dive, but he knew that tough challenges were still ahead. The strongest currents and narrowest of passages awaited him, ready to test his skills. As Arthur moved carefully around a sharp rock wall, he felt that he had entered a new part of the cave. The dark water surrounded him, and a steep wall blocked his view ahead. But the thrill of being in a place that no one had seen before filled him with excitement. It was a moment of pure joy, a mix of fear and wonder that made his heart race. Alone in the depths, Arthur felt a strong connection to the cave, knowing that he was part of something much bigger, a hidden world waiting to be found. So Arthur went deeper into the cave, reaching about 80 meters, or 260 feet down. Even though he was deep, he wanted to explore more, feeling a pull to go further into the unknown. He stopped for a moment, leaning against the rough wall to catch his breath. All of a sudden, he glanced at his diving computer, and he was in shock because the oxygen was already low. At that moment, he was feeling scared about what lay ahead for him. Arthur started to feel panic while swimming back from his dive, questioning whether he should have gone deeper instead of just turning around. Well, after he makes it back, he sends a message to his friends, including Jim, to let them know that he's okay, and he plans to dive again. Jim responds by emphasizing that if Arthur doesn't return by 9 p.m. that night, they're going to start searching for him. Arthur reassured him that he would be back well before that. Jim started to worry about Arthur on Monday night when he couldn't reach him by phone or text. As the hours went by, his concern grew, and he began to think that something might be wrong. He contacted some other friends, but nobody knew anything about Arthur. Jim and Frank decided to organize a search party, and they asked local divers to help them find Arthur. By Tuesday morning, the search operation started, but they still didn't know where Arthur was and what exactly had happened. Divers went into the cave searching for any sign of him. In the first chamber, they found some diving gear, but they weren't sure if it belonged to Arthur. As they went deeper into the cave, they found more pieces of gear. This made them worry that they might not find Arthur alive. The divers kept searching, hoping to find Arthur safe and sound. But as they found more and more of his gear, they started to lose hope. They were becoming scared of what they might find. Then, just over a mile from the entrance, they found Arthur's body. He was submerged in a passage, and it was obvious that he had not survived. The divers were heartbroken. They had been hoping to find Arthur alive, but now they had to face the sad reality. As Arthur's friends stood at the entrance of the cave, their hearts broke when they found his lifeless body. At that moment, the excitement of adventure turned into a heavy feeling about the dangers they had overlooked. They had always admired Arthur's courage, But now they had to face the very tough truth that cave diving is very dangerous. Now, let's dive into another story of bravery and strength, where Madison Blue Springs shows us not only its amazing wonders, but also the tough challenges that are faced by skilled divers. The allure of Madison Blue Springs drew Rich and Kevin for an adventure beneath the surface. Both of these divers were experienced, and they had undergone tough diving training. They were also certified with basic scuba diving, which made them go through physical training and mastering essential diving techniques. This foundational knowledge is crucial in cave diving, as it prepares divers for the more demanding challenges that lay ahead. After gaining their initial licenses, they pursued advanced certifications, which taught them how to navigate underwater and to dive to depths of 60 feet. Each certification brought them closer to understanding the complexities of cave diving. Once they completed training in these stages, they began exploring easier caves, allowing them to build their confidence and experience gradually. With hundreds of hours of practice under their belts, Rich and Kevin felt more equipped to handle the unpredictable nature of cave environments. Arriving at Madison Blue Springs, Rich and Kevin set up camp on the west bank of the Withlacoochee River. They took their safety seriously, each bringing 3 reels of line to ensure that they could navigate the cave safely. Their diving gear was fully equipped for cave exploration, featuring sturdy backplates, wings, bright lights, and nitrox computers to monitor their diving conditions. Madison Blue Springs is a beautiful natural spring located in north-central Florida. It is famous for its clear blue waters and is a popular spot for swimming, snorkeling, and cave diving. The spring is part of Madison Blue Springs State Park. The main spring reaches a depth of about 130 feet, making it an ideal location for experienced cave divers. The underwater caves and passages offer exciting exploration opportunities, featuring fascinating rock formations. Surrounding the spring, tall trees create a picturesque environment. One of the most distinctive features of this spring is the presence of staff members who monitor the area continuously, ensuring safety for divers. This is especially important as many of these caves are located in remote regions where there is little to no sign of life. Kevin and Rich were both determined to prioritize safety during their diving adventure at Madison Blue Springs. Understanding the risks involved in cave diving, they decided to take extra precautions. Instead of the standard 2 reels of line that most divers typically carried, they brought along 3 reels each. This thoughtful choice was driven by their desire to ensure that they could navigate the underwater caves safely. In cave diving, a guiding line is essential for finding the way back to the entrance. If a line were to break, having an extra reel would allow them to quickly repair the line and continue their dive without panicking. This extra preparation meant that even if they faced unexpected challenges, they would still have a backup plan in place. After completing their preparations, Kevin and Rich began their dive on a Sunday in 1999. As they descended into the clear, warm waters of Madison Blue Springs, they felt reassured that their trip would go smoothly. The visibility was excellent, and the inviting temperature added to their excitement. They swam through a narrow crack in the rocky floor, passing ledges that resembled features of an above-ground cave. The ceiling of the tunnel narrowed beneath the first ledge, but there was still plenty of space to maneuver comfortably. As they ventured deeper, the rocky tunnels revealed sharp edges and large boulders, creating a stunning yet challenging landscape. The current in the water could be unpredictable, sometimes pulling divers along or pushing against them, depending on where they were in the cave system. However, on that particular day, everything felt just right. As Kevin and Rich swam deeper, the quiet darkness of the tunnels gave them a sense of peace as they explored. They moved through the cave's main tunnel, which opened up into a large area called the Horseshoe Room. This big chamber had impressive stone formations that divided the space, creating a fascinating sight. In the Horseshoe Room, they noticed a side shaft that they could explore, but they decided to stick to the main tunnel. The calm waters allowed them to enjoy the beauty around them. The interesting rocks and gentle currents made their experience even more enjoyable. After going into much deeper passages of the cave, the visibility was still excellent at up to 100 feet as Kevin and Rich entered the passage known as the Roto router. This tunnel was around a depth of 78 feet. As they swam deeper into the passage, they felt at risk knowing that they were exploring one of the cave's most remarkable yet remote areas. However, after reaching this furthest and deepest point, they decided that it was time to turn around and begin their ascent. Kevin and Rich knew that they could push themselves further, but they wanted to play it safe and return to the surface with plenty of energy and air left. As they explored Madison Blue Spring, they saw that while some areas were clean and clear, much of the floor was covered in a layer of silt, fine mud, sand, and plant matter that could be hard to deal with. So again, because of all these risks, Kevin and Rich decided to turn back. They wanted to make sure that they could enjoy their adventure while staying safe. Kevin and Rich made their way back to the half hitch, a narrow section known as a restriction, where two divers couldn't fit side by side. This time, however, the water flow was stronger, making the situation more challenging. As they approached, visibility decreased significantly. As they attempted to go through the half-hitch, Kevin in front suddenly lost hold of the guideline. This was a critical moment. Without the guidelines, it was easy to become disoriented in the murky water. The swirling silt made it difficult to see anything, and panic began to set in. Rich, who was behind Kevin, struggled to find the path as the visibility dropped to almost zero. He could feel the current pushing against him, adding to the challenge. Knowing that they needed to stay calm, Rich focused on listening to Kevin's movements and trying to regain the guideline. They quickly set up their safety lines and they tied themselves to the end of the guideline that they knew. They hoped to reach out in different directions and find the other end, and thus a way back to safety. As they felt around for the line, more sand and dirt floated into the water, adding to their problems. Frustration grew as they realized that every attempt to move only made things worse. They had to stay calm and work together to find a way out. The tight passage was a real challenge. Every move felt like a struggle as they pushed through the darkness. Their gear got caught on sharp rocks and they had to unhook it in order to free themselves. With no light to guide them, they couldn't even see their watches. But they relied on their caving skills and they kept going, trusting their instincts, even without a guiding line. All of a sudden, Kevin and Rich felt the familiar texture of the downstream line. As they moved forward, they let the line slip through their fingers. Just when they thought they were safe, trouble struck again. The loose end wrapped around them, tangling them up and making it hard to move. As the frayed end of the guideline wrapped around them, Rich and Kevin realized that they were stuck and they couldn't move. They hadn't noticed the line getting tighter until it was too late. After nearly 2 hours underwater, they were running out of air and panic started to rise. In a desperate attempt to free themselves, they began cutting through the tangled lines, but things only got worse. As their oxygen ran low, their breaths became quick and shallow. Finally, they ran out of air and everything went dark. Rescue attempt. Upon arriving at Madison Blue Springs the next morning, staff were immediately struck by the sight of Rich and Kevin's cars still parked in the same spots. They quickly called for help, telling emergency services what had happened. They also reached out to rescue divers, hoping that they could arrive ASAP. As everyone waited, a feeling of anxiety filled the air. 3 skilled cave divers arrived to help. Lamar Hirers, Mike Bruce from the campground family, and another man named Tony. They got ready for a difficult rescue attempt at Madison Blue Springs, working together in order to find Rich and Kevin. Everyone hoped for a safe outcome. The rescue divers were divided into teams, with one group exploring the side passages in the Godzilla room, while the others followed the main route. As Tony and Mike navigated the half-hitch restriction, approximately 850 feet into Madison Blue Spring, they located the main guideline. However, their hearts sank when they discovered that it was still broken, a troubling sign. If Kevin and Rich had reached this point, they would likely have tied their safety line to the end of the broken guideline in order to help future divers. Kevin was floating in the water, lifeless in his wetsuit. Rich, still equipped with his diving gear, was also dead. They were tangled up in a guideline meant to help divers navigate the cave. They each died trying to squeeze one last breath from their empty tanks, taking a final gulp of water as the clear blue surroundings turned dark. The team focused on gathering evidence and checking their gear. Rich's equipment was empty, but it was still functional. After freeing the bodies from the main line, Mike reconnected it, adding his own reel since the line had been cut. He found several other lines tied to it, suggesting that Kevin and Rich may have missed a break or had gotten lost in the silt. When they surfaced, the rescue divers brought their bodies out, and everyone was devastated. These tragedies serve as a reminder that no matter how skilled you are, you cannot always be completely prepared for such depths. In the end, it is a lesson to always be cautious when chasing adventure in the depths below.